What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of The Locker Room. I'm here with the one and only John Wayne Parr. How you going, man? It's an honour to have you on the show, man. I'm buzzing out, eh? So,
Hey.
how you going, bro?
I'm very well. Yeah, thanks for coming up. It's crazy to be part of it, so it's all good.
Oh, the last few weeks for the show have been a roller coaster, and it just to get you on. I mean, for people that are watching, I simply messaged you on Twitter, and you were just like, "Yeah, more than happy to come on," which is a credit to you as a person, man. So thank you. We're actually both Mudgee boys, so there must have been that Mudgee Bar connection on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty easy access to get a hold of. I'm very active on social media. I like to chat to everyone. So everyone says, "Oh, yeah, it's crazy when you like a comment or something." It's like, not really. I'm just like everyone else. I've got an internet addiction. I can't help myself. So I enjoy it. I like talking to people. It's fun.
And for the footy fans that are watching this that aren't Muay Thai followers, first of all, shame on yourself. You should be. Second of all, John Wayne Parr is literally one of the best Muay Thai fighters to ever come out of the country, and I hope you don't mind me saying that.
Stop it.
He's beloved in Thailand. A lot of Westerners find it hard to be beloved in Thailand. So your career, man, I mean, it has been a roller coaster. One of the toughest men to ever come out of Australia, in my opinion. I'd love to say it's something in the water in Mudgee Bar, but either we had some different sources of water, because I've not got any of the water you got. So walk us through it. A kid from Mudgee. Muay Thai isn't obviously the Australian sport. Obviously, it isn't that big in Australia. It is big. It's way bigger than it was when you were growing up.
Yeah.
Where did it all start? How did it come from a Mudgee boy that you probably had footy and soccer and all these things that most Australian boys do growing up? How did you get into Muay Thai?
I was very influenced by the television TV shows such as Monkey Magic, movies like Karate Kid, Van Damme with the movie Kickboxer. They all played significant roles in me wanting to be a martial artist. It wasn't so much about being a kickboxer, it was just being a martial artist.
Okay.
So I asked Mum, I begged Mum if I could start training, and we always lived in the country. And then at the age of 11, we moved to Brisbane, and then my Taekwondo school was just up the road. So I started in Taekwondo for about a year and a half, 2 years. That went really well. I thought I was going to be a Taekwondo world champion, hopefully go to Korea, hopefully get to stand in line with the hundreds of other people in the park like you see on the footage of the Koreans. And then unfortunately the Taekwondo school I was training at closed down, and then the kickboxing school started up.
Don't you dare say unfortunately. It's the best thing that's ever happened.
At the time, it was the world was ending. I didn't know what I was going to do. I thought, I'll give this kickboxing a go. It's not Taekwondo, but I'll give it a crack, and hopefully it's okay. And then it ended up being amazing. It ended up being even better again. So I thought, I think I found my new passion. Yep. And then I was lucky enough. I trained hard. Had my first fight when I was 14 years old, and then had a really tough fight. Unfortunately, I got beat on points, but it was from that moment on. I knew that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. It's like the anticipation in the change room, the fight itself, the amazing buzz that you receive off the crowd when they cheer your name, and the round of applause after the fight. It's just like, yep, I'm addicted to the rush, and I'm addicted to the crowd, and this is what I want to do. So, and then had a few more fights, had 13 fights, picked up a few titles here and there, and then the opportunity came to go to Thailand through my sponsor Richard Vell. He said after a hard fight, he asked me if I'd like to go and learn from the best, and they said yeah, for 100% for sure. So I jumped on a plane, and then. What turned out, what was supposed to be 6 months, ended up being 4 years. And so I lived 4 years. Lived 4 years in Bangkok, and then had about approximately 40 odd fights over there. Ended up winning 2 world titles against like the best Thais in Thailand in their stadiums at their sport.
Was that Lamphini Stadium?
One was on my first one was on a thing called the King's Birthday, and they have a crowd of 100,000 people in a big park. It's televised live throughout Thailand. And then the next one was 2004. I had to fight 3 guys in 2 hours, and I beat all 3.
What?
Yeah, I beat all 3 guys, and then I won a world title, $1 million baht, which works out to be about 35,000 Australian. Yep. And I also won a trophy from the Prime Minister of Thailand also. Wow. So, and that was a big big, lots of exposure because every single media outlet was focusing on that show.
Okay.
And then when I won, I was sort of a household name because everyone was watching it. So every single tuk-tuk driver and every single taxi driver and the next day Thai people would come up to me and asking for photos, which was I'd finally made it. I finally became a name in Thailand after being there for so long. So it was really cool.
Well, I mean, you say so long, but in the grand scheme of things, like 4 years to become as big as you did, as quickly as you did, that's pretty impressive. You would have been, what, 23, 24?
No, I left when I first went, I was 19.
Yeah.
I was 19 when I first got there, and then, when I got picked up by the camp, I was the first Westerner they'd ever accepted, because back then the Thais were very secretive. They didn't want the Westerners coming over because they didn't want us to beat them at their own sport. So they took me in as one of their own. I lived on a wooden floor with all the other fighters. We slept side by side in like a dorm. Didn't have a sit-down toilet. Had a squat toilet. No toilet paper, so we had to pour water into our hands, and then you'll use water, your hand, your water, and then your bum to clean yourself.
So you were living on a floor?
Yeah, I slept on the floor for 4 years. And then you would all at night time and breakfast time. It was lunch for breakfast, lunch for dinner. Rice for breakfast, rice for dinner. Maybe noodles. Thai food is Thai food. There's no cornflakes. There's no bread. There's no toast. There's no scrambled eggs. So yeah, lived on rice and meat and veggies for all that time as well. So yeah, it was good. It was amazing. It was not only I learn the art of Muay Thai, but I learnt the Thai culture. So I'm proud to say that I'm almost like a white Thai.
Yep.
I can speak the language now because no one could speak English, so I had to learn how to speak the Thai. I can't read or write, but I can get by just asking questions, and then I can understand the songs. I can watch the Thai movies and watch Thai TV and watch the Thai news and know what's going on. And and then just there's different things. Mainly about learning respect for older people. Yep. Which we don't have in Australia, which is really sad. It's a big thing in Thai culture about who's older has more respect by the younger. So you always see the Thais. It's called whying. It's when you put the hands together. So a young person always has to why the older person first. It's like Japanese when they bow. It's the same sort of thing. But it's really good. The Thai culture is really amazing. It's a third world country. They're really poor, but at the same time, they're also the happiest people in the world because they know how to live life. They don't need all the gadgets. You don't need an iPod. You don't need a computer. You can just have fun with a bit of mud.
People.
Yeah, it's just back in the old days. Back to being back to living real life instead of this fake life that we live here in Australia. We have all the money in the world and we're all sad and depressed and suicidal. And so just relax and just be normal.
It's crazy to think that you were sleeping on a floor.
Yeah,
wiping your own ass with no toilet paper, and you look back on it the most like the most fondest thing, so fondly. And yet, if you were to say that to a kid, even an NRL player coming up, you said, "Mate, you've got to go sleep on a floor if you want to play first grade, because you've got to go sleep on a floor and wipe your ass with water." They'd say, "Mate, I'll never do that." Yeah. And yet, you look back on it like it's one of the fondest. It seems like anyway. It seems like you beam up when you start talking about it. It seems like you're very proud and happy to talk about it. With the Thai culture, I often feel like the Western society kind of looks down on it as if it's less than Western society, and yet you've experienced it firsthand. What would you say? I mean, you spoke of like obviously they're people, they don't care about material things, they're not trying to fill a void with things that obviously don't matter.
Yep.
What do you reckon are the misconceptions about Thai culture that you really loved when you got there?
Just the close family. Everyone's. You might have grandma and grandpa, mum and dad, and the kids all live in the same complex because there's no healthcare. There's no what is it?
Safety net of the government.
Yeah. So once grandma and grandpa retire, they need their kids to help support them. So everyone's really tight with the family still. In Australia, once you leave home, you might ring mum and dad once a week or something, or say good day. But with the Thais, it's all still in-house.
Yep.
And then Muay Thai is so big too. So because it's like football and cricket here in Australia, Muay Thai is like their number one sport outside of soccer.
Yep.
So and just because I love Muay Thai so much, and to be immersed in that world where it's such a big thing, they got a newspaper that comes out every single day that only talks about Muay Thai.
Oh, really? Wow.
So imagine free-to-air TV. Every single TV station has a 2-hour program dedicated to a different stadium in Thailand too. So,
No way.
so Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10. So every single, and you're just immersed in it. You just, if you're not training it, you're watching it, and if you're not watching it, you're reading about it. And then there's radio stations that just talk about Muay Thai all day also. So
wow. So
it's big. It's huge. So and to get to the top of the food chain and become one of the elite Westerners in to make it is I'm very proud of my history.
Oh, an analogy to make, it's like an Australian going to Brazil and becoming the best soccer player there.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, can you imagine that? That's exactly what it is. I mean, there's no other way to describe it. That's their national sport. They live and breathe it. They live in poverty. So obviously, you started training Taekwondo at 14. 11, and then you went to kickboxing at 14.
13.
13. So 13.
Yeah.
So these kids would have been doing Muay Thai since they were 6.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of the I guess natural the instincts and stuff like that you learn when you're really, really young. So you already had like 6-7 years behind these guys, and to go over there, man, what an achievement. So tell us about your first title fight when you got the shot. I watched your actually before we go on, your documentary.
Yep.
Blessed with the Venom.
Blessed with Venom. Yes.
Blessed with Venom. Anyone watching this, go and watch that now. It is fantastic. I can't recommend. And I'm not saying that just because I'm sitting here. It's fantastic. Like,
it's pretty cool.
I was glued to it.
When so a friend of mine, Jim Richards, he was coming here with his son Jacob to come and train, and then we just got talking one day, and he knows people that knows people, and he does a bit of film work himself, and then he said, "Would you be interested in doing something about your life story?" I said, "Oh yeah, that'd be cool." But I heard it a million times before, and then I didn't think it would ever eventuate. And then, sure enough, he said, "Let's do it." He talked to another gentleman, Guy Norris, who'd worked on a lot of big films, Mad Max. He just the new Mad Max. He's done Superman, Moulin Rouge. He's got a lot of big credentials on his name.
Yep.
So we went to Thailand. Me, Jim, Guy. Baden, and then we got there and woke up in the hotel the next morning and said, "Oh, we had no script or game plan." And then Guy said, "Okay, write down all the people that we should interview or should we go and see." So I wrote down a whole bunch of names and we should see this person, the promoter, my old camp. And then he contacted them all. Everyone happened to be available, so we all went around one by one and interviewed them all. And then it took them about nearly a year to put it all together, and with all old fight footage as well.
Yep.
And then the documentary got made, and then luckily through a guy knowing Graham Burke, who is a part owner of Birch Callan Coil. So he said, "Hey, this is really cool. Do you mind if I put it in cinemas for a few days?"
Yep.
So we did the premiere at Pacific Fair.
Yep.
So I went from the small room to the middle room to the biggest room. We sold out 450 people on the very first night.
Mate, it's so good.
So it was supposed to be just 2 days in the cinemas, and then it ended up, they asked if they could extend it to a week, and then a week ended up being extended to 2 weeks.
Far out.
So it was really cool, and I got to
some massive Hollywood shows don't even last 2 weeks.
So it was really cool to have to be alive and have your life story on the big screen. It's like, wow, this is very surreal. This is too amazing.
Oh,
and then and now it's on the YouTube for free. So it's just under Blessed With Venom. If you go to YouTube, it's everyone that's watches the amount of feedback I have. It's a lot of people that are big MMA influence now. Hopefully being a bit more inspired to try and learn the striking, or go to Thailand for a holiday and watch pure Muay Thai for what it is, because the culture is it's so unique, and it's MMA is so raw, and it doesn't have a culture, whereas Muay Thai is hundreds of years old, and there's so much respect, and even though it's so violent at the same time, there's a lot more behind it than just so wailing away with kicking and punching. It's such a beautiful art once you learn how to watch it, and to train it. It's so much fun too. So,
yeah, oh man, and talk about respect. There was a fight, and it was with essentially your rival, Yodsanklai Sai?
Yodsanklai.
Yodsanklai.
Yeah,
and he won. I think he won the second fight, and he got on his knees and bowed in front of you.
Yeah, we fought 3 times. He knocked me down the first time that we fought, and then won on points. The second time we were on a TV show, and then we both got to the final in Singapore. He knocked me down in the first round, knocked me down again in the second, and then it went to the points again. And then the third time we had a really close fight in Melbourne. which had it been in Thailand, I think he probably would have won. But because the Australian judges are more influenced by the boxing side of things, I just happened to pick up the points and get the win. So
very striking, isn't it?
I like boxing. I like punching.
Yeah.
So I luckily to get the win on the third time. So to beat someone at Yodsanklai's caliber is a dream come true, because he's the man. He's like beating Floyd Mayweather. So to get that one win against him has helped secure my legacy, hopefully worldwide. And
especially when a lot of critics were saying that you were on your way down rather than up, and then you came into that fight and went to beat the best of the best. It kind of said, well, you were still just as good as you ever been.
No, it was very cool. Beating Yod was awesome.
And talking about the respect thing, I mean, to get down on his knees and bow in front of you, the respect that you must have between each other, even though you punch each other's brains out. It's crazy to see. You would never see that in another. I can't think of another sport where that would happen. Where maybe not even boxing, like you know what I mean, for another man to bow at your feet and say, "I respect you that much to do it." That's crazy. It must be a bit of a buzz to see the Floyd Mayweather to, you know what I mean, to respect like that.
It was pretty cool, because after the fight, even though it was a little bit controversial that he should have won if it was in Thailand. I went to the bathroom like half an hour after the fight, and then I was only in there by myself, and he came in as well to wash up, and then it was just me and him in the room, and he said, "Oh man, congratulations on tonight. You fought really hard. I'm really happy for you." So he didn't have to say it. He didn't have to say nothing. He could have been pissed, and
most people would be. Yeah,
but for him to have those words of saying, "Oh no, even though it was close, congratulations, you deserve it." It's like, wow, that really means something.
And is it a conscious thought? I mean, I met you first time today, and you're so humble, so polite, so respectful, and yet you're a killer. You're a killer. You're an actual killer.
Nah, I'm just a good bloke. Fighting's fighting, and then I run a gym.
Yep.
I teach everyone from kids to mum and dads.
Yeah.
So and fighting's just a job. It's just I've been doing it for so long. I've had 122 fights now, so. It's just normal. It's just, you know, when the bell rings, you got to go into crazy mode, and you want to you got to bring out the medieval and try and
the primal instinct kind of thing too.
What's the word? I want to. There's a switch, and then you know my job is to try and hurt people as much as I can, so they can't continue.
Yep.
And then once the bell rings, then it's just back to being a person again.
Yep.
So it's like footy, I suppose. It's no different than footy. You got to be a bit of aggro if you want to try and be successful. So same with fighting, except for you don't have to wait for some allocation to happen on the field to have a bit of a punch up. I know I'm going to get in a punch up before I leave the dressing room. So.
And were you always? I mean, growing up as a kid, were you an aggressive kid, but were you able to, when you needed to, flip the switch, or was it something you kind of learned?
I moved a lot around when I was growing up, so I went to 11 different schools, so I was always a new guy. Okay. So I think that's why it was so easy for me to move to Thailand and adapt, because I'm so used to moving and also used to changing, being a different person every couple months.
Yep.
So it sucks.
And you're getting the boys in the play
to move to another country and it's just a new place again. So I'm so used to being in that different environment all the time that moving to Thailand was easy.
On top of that, you were a Westerner as well, so I mean, that automatically got the kind of guard up with
and it was cool too, because the Thais aren't racist much, so they'd look at me as, because sometimes I go months at a time without seeing another white person. So and then because I learned how to speak Thai too, I just fell into that world and just became one. There was no other Westerner influences around me, so I loved it. I like being the special guy. I like being that one Westerner at a nightclub where everyone looked at me because I felt special. Yeah. So
and on top of that, you're one of the best fighters in the world. So I'm sure that, you know what I mean. Like that's going to help it.
Even running down the street, I'd get the Thais would flash their lights at me and beat their horns and wave, and you'd high five people as you're running past them and stuff, because everyone sort of knew who I was. I started making the front covers of the magazines and fighting on TV regularly, so everyone knew who I was. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed my time.
And I wonder, when I was watching the documentary, moving back to Australia, I mean, do you ever I mean, you're a king over there. Everyone loved you. You're beloved. You were John Wayne Parr. What made you move back to Australia? Obviously you're still extremely well known here, but the height that you would have been in Thailand would have been completely different. What was the kind of defining factor that made you come back to Australia?
I had a shin infection, and I had to get my shin lanced, and I couldn't kick for about 2 or 3 months, and then it goes to the stage. I'd been there for so long. I just felt like my time was done. I've done so much there, and the fights were so hard, and the prize money was very small.
Yep.
And it was after 4 years, it's pretty much an apprenticeship. So,
yep.
So I won all these fights, and then it was just time to come back. And then luckily, my sponsor Richard, he helped set up a gym for me. So we set the gym up, and then I needed somewhere to train so I could continue my fighting. And then through the gym, I thought, well, I better start teaching classes so I can make rent, so I can get somewhere to train.
Yep.
And then that sort of circle sort of started taking over. So I started. Yeah, so I had the more that I taught, the more money I made, more money to have and then all of a sudden, it just made sense. And then the more people that trained with me, they wanted to start fighting as well. And then all of a sudden, I'm training myself. I'm getting my friends holding pads for me. I'm teaching classes. I'm managing fighters. I'm doing promotions. So yeah, I'm a one-man band. Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm very, very lucky. I'm my own manager. I'm my own trainer. My own matchmaker.
Yep.
Not many people in the world can say they have that luxury.
Yep.
It's a lot of stress though. It's not easy because sometimes promoters can be dickheads.
Yep.
And try and take advantage of you, especially ones overseas. And lots of times, looking back, I got screwed a few times, but at the same time, you live and learn. But I've done alright out of it. I'm pretty happy where I am. I've managed to become one of the highest paid Muay Thai fighters in the world through my own management. So I got no one else to blame. No one's going to rob me besides myself or my wife.
So take us through your career. Like we've talked about your career now. What would you say would have been, I guess, your toughest? You obviously had plenty of tough fights. What would you reckon was your toughest fight that you came out as victorious? What would you reckon would be? Who was it?
The third one. Yodsanklai.
I can't get it.
Yeah, he's the man. Yeah, fighting him 3 times was killer. So all 3 times were all 5 rounders. So to share the ring with him for 15 rounds is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Not many people last the distance with him. He smashes people.
His leg kicks are something.
He's a southpow, so his left body kicks is a killer.
Okay.
And he's really sharp. He's got good hands, good boxing defense, crazy left kick, and insane power. So I go 15 rounds with him and not get stopped. I got dropped, but I got up every time. So I'm pretty proud to. And the same, there's another gentleman from Thailand called Borkow.
He tall?
No. He's another middleweight. That I fought him twice as well, and both of those times were super close.
Yep.
A lot of people say that I should have won the second time that I fought him also. So
yep.
So to even be put in the same sentence as those guys is really cool. I'm very honoured to have shared the ring and had close fights and won some, lost some, but not embarrassed myself.
So what's your what would you say is the moment where you thought I can be something special here. I can create a legacy in Muay Thai. What do you reckon that moment where you thought this is getting really serious now? I'm like, for example, when I was playing footy, it was when I was playing reserve grade that I thought I'm actually good enough here to go on and become something and play in it or whatever. Where do you reckon the moment for you was when it kind of ran in home that you could be something special in Muay Thai?
No, always.
Always.
Yeah, I've always been. I always believed in myself. Always wanted. When I was young, after watching Van Damme, he raised the bar, and I wanted to walk in his footsteps. Okay. So, I wanted to be a world champion, but I wanted to do it in Bangkok. I didn't want to fight someone from New Zealand. I didn't want to fight another Westerner. I wanted to go to Thailand and beat the most scariest Thai for the world title. To win a world title in Bangkok is as genuine as it gets, and no one could deny me from being a genuine champ. I didn't want to be a paper champ. I don't want to fight someone from Melbourne for a world title that's had 10 fights. I want to fight someone with 200, 300 fights and to prove I'm one of the best. And then once I did win my world titles, now the next legacy was to be immortal. I want to create a legacy that once I passed that I'm never forgotten. Like Raymond Deckers, like Muhammad Ali, like so many. Rocky Marciano. I want to be one of those guys that look back upon and say, yeah, well, John Wayne from Australia, he was one of our best ever. So, and that's why it's so hard for me to retire, because it's such a hard mountain to climb. It's an endless peak.
Yep.
Everyone said, oh, but aren't you content? I'm never content. I wanna make sure my legacy is in concrete. So
that's why you're champion. That's why you are who you are, man. Like, because you have that drive.
And then I always got to search for the hard fights too. I don't want to take any easy ones. Probably Mundine's downfall was he didn't strive to search the best guys. Even though he did alright and won a couple of world titles, they weren't against like the genuine. They were the interim champ titles, but they weren't the proper full blown world titles. He should have fought Austin Trout. He sort of backed out of that one and took an easier fight. Also, when he fought the Scandinavian gentleman that knocked him out, Kessler, he should have rematched Kessler as well. That was an opportunity for him to be the greatness, and he dodged that one as well and went down a weight division. He was a star in his own right and had all the abilities to be one of the greatest ever, but instead he'd rather take the easy route and fight the no-names and make the big dollars. Whereas I myself, I'd fight for $50 to fight someone like the Yodsanklais or the Boar Cows.
Yep.
Just so if I win, $50, but who cares? I'm officially an elite. So money's not important.
Yep.
Money's here today, gone tomorrow, but legacy is forever. So that's what drives me. Is
your legacy.
Legacy is so important.
And going to Thailand, obviously, that's, as I said, is similar to going to Brazil and beating those guys. Do you see yourself ever moving back there, you reckon?
No.
You're happy
I've done Thailand. I lived in Thailand for about 5 years.
Yeah.
Again, the Thais are amazing and they're awesome at the sport, but at the same time, the money's... I'm making so much money in Australia and overseas compared to what I make in Thailand. Like Thailand, I can have the craziest fight ever, and if I get paid... $3,000, it's like, wow, I can't believe I got $3,000. Where over here in Australia, like I own my own house now. I own my gym. I don't rent it. I own both of them through fighting. I got lots of toys. I got 3 cars, and if I had stayed in Thailand, I'd be lucky to have a suitcase of clothes. So.
I kind of feel like you cemented not cemented because you're still striving, but you created your legacy there, and you've kind of done it. You know what I mean? Like you've got nothing more to prove there. You've beaten the best. I haven't
been a dickhead either. I haven't pissed it up against the wall. I've saved my money. I put it all in the bank. I don't go out and I don't showboat and I don't go to the nightclubs. I try and put it all away to make sure that my children have a future as well, and they can live the life that I didn't have. Live in one place, go to one school, and and not have to struggle.
Your last your second fight when it was the last fight your father fought. Obviously, that was an extremely hard time in your life. But I know that he in the documentary that I was watching, you were saying that he pat you on the shoulder and you said you were proud. Was that a moment where you've just taken a step back? Like, because it feels like you never take a step back and actually go, you know what, I've done it. Was that a moment where you've gone, you know what, I've kind of ticked up one of the boxes that I always wanted to achieve, anything like that? Or did you still have that hunger to continue to, strive and cement?
Yeah, no, it was. Dad had cancer, so we're on the TV show, and what happened was we shot 14 episodes, and then there was a 6 months break between the last show and then the final.
Yeah.
But then they wanted to air the show, so it was a live final in Singapore in front of 10,000 people. And then during that time, my dad got diagnosed with pancreas cancer, which was very aggressive.
Yep.
And then as I was flying to Singapore for the final, Dad was probably only 5-6 weeks away before he passed. So he was very sick. And then flying to Singapore was one of those moments where you realise, I'm going to lose my dad. This is going to be the last time he's ever going to see me fight. So I really wanted to win for him, because it was it was the last time he was going to see me fight, and it was so important that I wanted to make him proud. So I got knocked down in the first round. I said, I got to get up. It doesn't matter if I've just got to get up. And then I got knocked down again in the second. And then 3, 4, and 5, I came back as hard as I can. I put the pressure on. I was throwing my punches at bunches. I was running at Yodsanklai trying to score a knockdown to even the score. The end of the 5th, the bell rang.
Very close.
And then,
like you dominated the last 2 rounds, was it? Last one?
I did my best.
Yeah.
And then I ran out of time. The bell went. Yodsanklai was declared the winner, and it just sucked because it was $150,000 and a world title and worldwide fame, but at the same time it wasn't about that. It was about winning for Dad. Yep. So that was the hardest part. That was the hardest. And like you said, I showed him the footage of the fight, and he said, "Mate, you could fight that bloke 10 times, and you'd be lucky to beat him once. He's a machine." So just the whole distance with him was pretty cool.
Oh, 100%.
And then once that passed, then I did get the rematch, and then 12 months later, and happened to beat him in a controversial fight. So it was very nice. It was one of those ones where after the fight, he's the first person in the ring to say, "Hey, I did it." But unfortunately, he can't answer the phone in heaven.
Oh man! So was he always did he always want you to be in Muay Thai, or was he kind of just like do whatever you want, or did he fight?
Yeah, no, Dad was a jockey in the horse industry. That's why we moved around a lot as a kid. Okay. And then I found fighting was purely my passion. There was no one in the family was a fighter, or it's just something I strived to want to become. And then once I got back from Thailand, my dad became my number 1 fan. Yep. So every time I fight, he'd try and be in the crowd or do his best to be there and sit ringside. And he'd always brag to his friends how I was doing all right. And so it was pretty cool. It was very sad because we become closer after I moved out of home than I did when I was living at home. Yep. And then he became my best mate. And then when you lose your best mate, it's shit.
So going forward for yourself, you say you're struggling to, not struggling, but you've always got that will to, you want to concrete. What is John Wayne Parr's future? What do you see in the next 3 or 4 years? You obviously got a fight on December the 7th.
5th. December 5th.
December 5th, sorry.
Yep.
December the 5th, you got a fight on December the 5th. Is there any, are you looking at any future past that, or is that's your bullseye?
Oh no, I still plan to continue fighting until I can't. So eventually something's got to break, whether it be my knee, my shoulders, my jaw. And once I'm at the stage where I can no longer fight, that's when I'll retire. Yep. But until then, I'm going to try and ride it out as long as I can. And then, or if I start losing consecutively by devastating knockouts, that's when it's time to get the tap on the shoulder and say, "Hey, maybe enough's enough." But at this stage, I'm doing all right. Yep. I lost my last one, but it was a tough war. I had a few wins before that, which is pretty cool for someone my age. Very cool. And I'm still. I don't want to take easy fights either. So people keep asking me why am I fighting these certain world elite guys, because that's, if I don't fight them, how am I going to get famous? I'm only going to get famous if I fight the tough ones. Okay. And everyone thinks I'm crazy, but at the same time, if you, it's like every time it's like fighting. If I fight a really tough guy, it's like fighting like playing a grand final every couple months. Okay. So I want to try and. One for myself to secure my legacy, but also for my fans, because I don't want to fight someone that I can walk through. Because it's not fair for my people that are paying the paying audience. They want to see a war, and I want to give them that war. Hopefully, I come out on top. But at the same time, if I lose, at least I've fought the best. Challenge myself. If I get the decision, beauty. If I didn't, at least I had a crack.
And. We'll just rewind a bit. You've had over 300 stitches on your face.
Yeah, 315.
315. I mean, is that a record? Is it like some kind of?
I don't know. I'd have to be close.
You have to check that. I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't know how to check, but yeah.
You should hit up Guinness Book, get like the Guinness Book of Records and hit them up and say, "Oh man, 300." Yeah. And so, what was the? You've got a photo where they. In the magazine,
they superimpose all. If it happened to be, and that only shows about half of them as well. There's more as well, because there's so many that crisscross over as well. They couldn't really show exactly where all the lines are. But
how did that come about? When did they?
Oh no, I seen I seen a gentleman that was a hockey player back in the 50s.
Yep.
And then he had over 300 stitches as well, and they showed his face. They made his face up, and I want to do something similar to show all of my scars as well.
Yeah.
Because I thought it'd be very interesting.
Mate, it's extremely interesting, mate. I honestly, I think it's an iconic photo. I think it's one of those things that in 50 years, when people do look back on your legacy in Muay Thai, it'll be a picture that people look to, and it kind of epitomises how tough you are. I don't honestly.
Yeah,
mate.
no, and then it doesn't even show all of them either. It only shows about half. So if you could do all of them, it'd be even. My face would look like Google Road Maps.
And so, did they bring you up and say, or did you put the idea to them?
I gave it to them. I said, I've seen this picture. I want to do something similar to mine, and they're happy to oblige.
Yep.
So they got their Photoshop people to make magic happen, and then it came out really cool.
Man, it's amazing. Did you think that when you do retire from fighting that you will go into like more media side of things? Because it seems like you do have a bit of a brain for, I guess, entertaining and social. Like, you know what I mean. You're very entertaining on social media. You have good ideas and all that kind of stuff. Is it something you reckon you could do in the future, or?
Yeah, I don't want to be irrelevant anymore. I want to still be present.
Yeah.
I want to be someone. I don't want to. I've worked too hard to just disappear after I retire and just flutter away into nothingness.
Yeah.
And in my whole career, I know fighting's fighting, but also know fighting's entertainment. That's why I want to entertain the crowd. My social media is very popular because I'm not just average Joe. I don't just put up boring shit. I want to entertain. I want to. If I'm not it's not fight wise. I try and crack a joke here and there.
Yep.
I don't take life very seriously. I know we could be here today, gone tomorrow.
Yep.
So have fun, have a laugh, and just enjoy it while you can, while you have your health.
And another achievement on top of the millions of others, going on the Joe Rogan Experience. Hey. I mean, like I personally, this show is inspired by Joe Rogan. Obviously, I'm an extremely little fish in a huge sea. He's the big shark. When that all came about, was that ever a time where you were like, did you step back then and be like, mate, this is amazing? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like,
no, definitely. I've been lucky enough to do 2 podcasts, and I did the Fight Companion, so 3 podcasts with Joe. Very surreal. When the anticipation of doing the first one, being in that room after watching so many of his podcasts, and then actually sit in that chair and put those headphones on and talk in front of the mic, it was and have Joe sitting in front of you asking questions too. It was very cool.
Now you got my ugly mug in front of you. So in being the number 1 downloaded podcast in the whole of the USA.
The last one was cool. Joe sent me a tweet the next day saying, congratulations, everyone's loving the chat, and your number 1 podcast in all of America. And then it was cool. It's really strange that 2 blokes can sit down and talk for 3 hours straight and just about everything. And there's no topic, there's no structure. It was just bouncing.
Wow.
And then
so there was no like here's some topics that we're going to talk about, and then
nothing. There's no designated questions. It was just we sat down and then press record, and then it's like, okay, how you going? And then we just roll from there. And then as we were chatting away, then Joe looked at the clock and goes, oh man, that's 3 hours. We better pack it up. So it's like, okay, yeah, no worries. And then next time you come to America, let's do it again. So he wants me to come back one more time. And then he's been lucky enough to give me ringside tickets for Ronda Rousey tomorrow, which I'm very excited about.
What?
Yeah,
that's crazy, bro.
So a couple of it's gonna be cool. I get to go to his hotel, pick up the tickets off him, and then go and see Ronda do a business against Holly. So it's nuts,
mate. I mean, if that doesn't give you an idea of how successful you've been, and how, I mean, you know what else is I feel like Australia, you, even though you were extremely well known in Australia, you've done our country so proud in the way you've carried yourself and how successful you've been, like as an Australian and as a fan of yours, mate. Like it's a buzz having you on the show.
No, thank you.
And okay, I usually just ask the boys a few like quick questions that come on. Craziest memory where it was one of those moments where you kind of out of body experience and you're sitting there going, fuck, I can't believe this is happening. Craziest memory.
Alright, so I won that tournament in Thailand. I had one of those big fake checks, $1 million check. I had a trophy from the Prime Minister of Thailand. I had a world title belt. So, but then I had a fight in Italy 2 weeks later. So I stayed in Thailand. I trained 2 weeks. I flew to Italy. I won that fight. So I won another massive big trophy again. So I flew back to Thailand and I had to pick up all my stuff. So now I've got a world title, 2 trophies in each hand, a big $1 million check. I'm going through Bangkok Airport. And everyone's just staring at me going, what the hell is this bloke? And then I remember sitting, I got straight through immigration because the check's in Thai. So as soon as I seen the $1 million in Thai, they called me through. They got to the front of the line. I got in, no worries. Sitting at the gate waiting for my plane, and everyone's come up to me going, because there's no social media when I lived in Thailand either. Okay. There's no Facebook, no Twitter, no nothing. So
for you to be a household name, it's even bigger, even more of an achievement.
Well, no one knew. I vanished off the face of the planet for 4 years back then because there was no. If I wanted to talk to Mum, I'd have to write her a letter. And then it'd take a week for it to arrive in Australia, and then a week for it for a reply. So it'd be 2 weeks in between letters. So
old school.
So it's different nowadays. People go to Phuket and they're constantly writing about what they're doing and stuff, and everyone's up to date. But when I went, I vanished.
Yep.
And then I did all this cool stuff and come back to Australia, and no one knew what I'd done because there was no way to
track it,
to tell people.
Yeah.
So when I got to the airport, no one knew who I was, but I had all these trophies and checks and world title belts, and it's like, whoa. And then one of my favourite pastimes, or not pastimes, but if the opportunity comes, and walking through airports with world title belts is probably my biggest high, because everyone's like, oh, or you go through, they put usually your world title is in a special box.
Yep.
And you put the box through the X-ray scanner. Oh, mate, sorry, mate, we're gonna have to open up the box. There's something in there that we have to have a look at. Sure, go ahead.
There's definitely something in there.
Feel free to open it up if you like. And they open it up, and then you see the shine coming out, the big smiles.
And you're just standing there like that.
Yeah. Here we go. So no, it's a good buzz. I enjoy. It's funny because when I was fighting in Japan, we had crowds of 40,000 people in the stadiums, and the fights were live to a 20 million people on free-to-air TV. So you'd be an absolute superstar in Japan. And then people would camp out in the hotel and stay in the foyer, and as soon as you come out of the lift, people would run up like a rock star.
Wow!
And then you do that for 7 days, and then you come back to Australia, and then it's just back to normal living. It's just back to being me again. And
then boys out of the
gym, there's no hoo-ha. It's just you go down the street, you go to the shops. You might get one or two g'days, how you going, a high five maybe, but it's just like normalcy.
Do you miss that constant hype around you, that constant or you've got your family here, you're really happy with the gym, you got your boys.
It's fun to go away and be a superstar for a week and then come back to Australia and just be normal again.
Okay.
So I see other people like George St. Pierre. I went and trained George in Canada for 2 weeks, and then his life.
Oh, really? GSP?
Yeah. He asked me to come to Montreal and train him for.
Sorry, bro. Take me through that. How did that happen? GSP.
I was doing seminars in throughout Canada. Did seven seminars in 7 days.
Yep.
And I had a couple of days left before I was flying back to Australia, and the opportunity came to. They said, "Oh, look, you got 2 days. If you want to kill some time, do you want to go to Montreal and meet George?" I said, "Yeah, sure." So they rang Faraz, the trainer. They said, "Oh, hey, is it okay if John Wayne drops in as the say hello?" Yeah, sure. Actually, tomorrow is Muay Thai training day. Does John want to jump in and do some rounds? Yeah, sure. I'd love to do some rounds. So chuck the big gloves on and the shin pads, and got to move around with George and Rory McDonald and a few other boys, and held my own.
Yep.
So came back to Australia, and then a couple of months later, I got a phone call from Faraz saying, "Hey, just sitting here next to George. Would you like to come back to Montreal and train George personally for his up-and-coming fight with Johnny Hendricks?"
Wow.
So yeah, that'd be awesome. So a couple of days later, packed my bag, flew to Montreal. George picked me up at the hotel. Mate. Held pads for him solid for 2 weeks. Sparring partner, training partner. Hung out for lunch and dinner and breakfast, and just inseparable for 2 weeks. It was really cool to be in his shadow and see how he ticks. From what I listened to the podcast and Joe and stuff, they reckon he's an extremely intelligent individual. Yeah, he's cool. And then, but just ridiculously famous. So to the point where he can't go from here to the corner shop without getting stopped 50 times.
And he's asking you to come and train with him. Think about that for a second.
Yeah, so to see his lifestyle and see how it interrupted his whole life, I'm glad I'm not to the famous to that regard.
Yep.
I like my 1 or 2 hellos a day. That's
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
But to be constantly stopped and trying to go to a restaurant or trying to go to the shops or trying to go to the toilet.
Yep.
So even getting bombarded like that is just crazy. He's just he's even more famous than probably Elvis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like stupid famous. It was crazy.
Okay. And Joe Rogan, GSP, I mean, far out, bro.
Yeah,
well,
life's good.
Mate, I want to say thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, easy.
And good luck in your fight coming up on the 5th. Also, Boonchu Gym down at Burleigh. If anyone is it an open gym, people can come in and train.
I got classes twice a day, 9:30 in the morning, 6:30 at night, Monday to Friday. I train everyone from kids as young as 8 all the way up to grandparents.
Yep.
So yeah, come in, have a sweat, and I'm happy to. I teach majority of the classes too, so it's not like it's a gym under my name. I'm actually the owner, the trainer, the main dude. So.
How do you have the time to do all this stuff, bro? You're doing everything.
Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, man. I will be watching your fight 100%.
Okay,
Can't wait. You always entertain, and just want to say, again, thanks so much for coming on, bro. And yeah,
easy. No worries. Thank you.
That's it.